So as with Italian, this is a video about what makes Russian hard, as a summary. I also couldn't get this into one part, so it would be two parts, and I hope you'll enjoy. So first I have to mention the Russian alphabet, because that's what everyone asks me whenever I say I learned Russian, or I can speak Russian. They say, how did you learn a new alphabet? And here I'll show you, it's not that hard.
This is the Russian alphabet. It looks intimidating at first, but it's really not that complicated. Firstly, these letters are the same. The E can be pronounced as both ye and e. These are all the new letters. Most are self-explanatory. This is pronounced zh. These are sh and sh. This is u. And these are the soft and hard signs. They make the letter before them soft or hard, which you can ignore at the beginning. The most difficulty comes in these letters. They look the same, but they have different sounds. V, N, R, S, U, H. It took me a day to learn, and about 2 weeks to get completely used to it. Here are some examples. Computer, pizza, internet, telephone. So it's not too hard. So once you know the alphabet, it's really easy to read. But there are a few things that make the language unphonetic. For example, O pronounces O when stressed, but pronounces A when not. Достаточно хорошо. Ya pronounces Ya when stressed, but pronounces I sometimes when not. Октябрь, октябре. G pronounces G normally, but sometimes pronounced as V. Строгого сегодня. Ye, yo. Russians don't bother writing yo, so you have no idea which is which sometimes. This word can be сестры or сестры, and the only way to work it out is through context.
So now that I've finished with the alphabet, let's talk about what's actually hard in Russian.
Cases and gender. Nouns in Russian have 3 genders: masculine, feminine, neutral. You normally work out the gender by looking at the ending. Ends in a consonant, masculine. Ends in a or ya, feminine. Ends in o or ye, neutral. Ends in the soft sign, it could be either masculine or feminine, and you need to memorize these. Table, book, place, connection. Stol, kniga, место, связь. Masculine, feminine, neutral, feminine. You make these plural like this. Stol, stoли, kniga, книги, место, место, связь, связи. Adjectives will change endings depending on the gender of nouns. Here are the different endings, for example. A small table, a big book, beautiful place, loud people. Маленький стол, большая книга, красивое место, громкие люди. This is not too difficult or what most European languages are like. Unfortunately, it's not this simple. Russian also has 6 grammatical cases, meaning that nouns will change depending on the context in the sentence. Here is a simplified demonstration. Nominative, кто, who. Accusative, кого, whom. Genitive, кого, of whom. Prepositional, о ком, about whom. Dative, кому, to whom. Instrumental, с кем, with whom. Watch my guide and cases if you want a more detailed explanation. Here's what table, stol, was before, but it's actually like this. Book, kniga, is this, and place, место, is this. And adjectives don't just change for gender, but also for case. Here is red, just with gender and number. But here it is again with cases as well. It has 12 endings to memorize. So say for example I want to say, in my city. В мой город is the base form of the words. So we need to change these for case. Here are all the forms of my. We need a prepositional case because v, in, requires this case. And we require it to be masculine because город, city, ends in a d. So, prepositional, masculine, моем. В моем. Now we need city, single prepositional, городе. So, в моем городе. Another example, with my new friends. С мои новые друзья. Change this for case. С is with, which requires the instrumental case. So my, instrumental plural, моими. С моими. New, instrumental plural, новыми. С моими новыми. Friends. Friend is actually an irregular noun because the plural form changes, but that doesn't matter here. So we need instrumental plural. Друзьями. С моими новыми друзьями.
So this is actually what I need to do when I'm talking in Russian. I need to think. I have to memorize. I have these tables memorized in my head, and I think, okay, it's that. Well, normally it's at first it was very difficult, but since I've got used to it, it's normally automatic. But sometimes I have to think about it and I have to remember okay, it's prepositional and masculine, that ending, and it's very difficult to think about all this. And then the noun and the adjective have different endings, so yeah, it's quite hard.
Aspective verbs. I've already made a video about this, so I'll just summarize here. Russian verbs are separated into the imperfective aspect, несовершенный вид, for ongoing and complete actions, and the perfective aspect, совершенный вид, for complete actions. Verbs are normally separated into pairs, one imperfective and perfective. Here is a list. The main problem is there is no rule to convert one into the other. Sometimes they use different words, sometimes prefixes, sometimes suffixes, and the prefixes are always different. So you basically have to learn every verb twice in all their conjugations.
In my opinion, I think that aspective verbs are probably the hardest thing in Russian, just because, cases and gender are really, really difficult, especially memorizing all those tables. It's just, once you have memorized them and have got used to using them, it's not too difficult because it's like there are rules. But with aspective verbs, I have no idea. Having rules really helps, and there are no rules with verbs. You have to memorize all of them.
And this leads me to verb prefixes. They can have way too many meanings at times. For example, pere. Переспросить, ask again. Переговариваться, to talk with each other. Перейти, to go over. Перестараться, to try too hard. Перекусить, bite into two pieces. So what does pere mean here? Yeah, I'm not sure. And then with the prefix вы. Ходить, to go. Играть, to play. Спать, to sleep. Учить, to learn. Жить, to live. So you add the prefix. Выходить, to go out. Выиграть, to win. Выспаться, to sleep well. Выучить, to learn. This just makes it perfective. Выжить, to survive. Again, it's very hard to understand what this prefix means. Stress, ударение. By stress, I mean which letter you emphasize in words. In English, we emphasize syllables. For example, desert, dessert. The only difference in pronunciation is which part you emphasize. In Russian, however, they emphasize vowels, not syllables. Word, city, country. Слово, город, страна. There are no rules to explain where the stress will go for English and Russian. The problem with Russian, though, is that the stress will change with case. City, cities, город, города. But the Russian word should actually be like this. 10 different stresses. Now there are certain rules or patterns to remember how the stress changes. Here are just 3 cases to simplify things. This is for the word head and beard. They both end in the same letter and the stress is in the same place. For example, голова, голови, борода, бороды. When I first saw this, I thought, okay, so I can just remember this pattern. The problem is there are a lot of exceptions. For example, these words, weather and freedom. Погода, погоди, свобода, свободи. There's no rule to explain this. Some rules can be spelt the same but pronounced differently. Word, слово, слова, слово, слов. Hair, волос, волосы, волоса, волос. The letter O changes pronunciation a lot here. And these words are spelled the exact same way. And sometimes the stress will change for no reason at all. Long ago, davno. Recently, недавно. So you add a prefix and somehow the stress changes completely. And then there are English words that have different stress in Russian. Marketing, marketing. Sofa, safa, which I find very strange.
And that's it for part 1. I hope you found this interesting. Thanks for watching.